Hi, I'm Bill Simmons, Artistic Director of the Phoenix Theater Cultural Center in beautiful downtown Indianapolis. I am talking today with Andrew Elliot, who is a beautiful theater maker here in Indianapolis. This is our second attempt at this interview. The first one, the file was corrupted, I was told. So here's hoping we have a pure recording today. So how are you, Andrew?
I'm doing well, thanks. It's good to chat with you again. I'm sorry I had that effect on your files.
Well, I won't hold it against you.
Uh,
So how are you really doing? I've been asking this of people I've been interviewing lately, just to
to be
really
real,
kind of see where they are.
yeah. I'm doing okay. As we've spoken about before, I'm fortunate. I have a beautiful home. I have a partner who's working. I'm not working much still. I have a few random things here and there, but not working much, and it's been hard. I miss it. I miss not only the camaraderie of work, but I miss, it's a purpose, and it's hard to not have a daily purpose in a way. So it's finding new reasons to get up, new reasons to be productive, and it's some days are easier than others. So I'm doing well. I'm okay. I'm healthy, but also some rough days too. I think as many of us have experienced in all of this. So
Yeah, I know. For me, I have to say January and February, where I think my hardest months. It was that particularly the last couple weeks, last week of January and the first few weeks of February were really, really hard. And I thought, well, actually I was under the illusion once we got to the inauguration, I'm like, okay, everything's going to magically get better. And I was talking to an artistic director in Chicago yesterday about a project we may be partnering on in the next year or so. And she felt the same way. She said, I don't know if it was just kind of the adrenaline that we had going through
yeah,
November and December, but she had the same thing. She had a real abyss that she sort of hit at the
it
end
was,
of January.
yeah, the adrenaline is that's a good way to put it. I think because, starting when everything when the bottom fell out last March, I just hit the ground running with all the looks I was doing and recreations. And of course I was letting myself grieve in a way, but at the same time I was busying myself to keep from falling into depression. Um, and so I had taken a break from doing some of the looks in January, and I fell into that depression. And having that time that of not having anything to do, it's like, oh yeah, I feel weird. I feel sad. I feel a little without purpose. So I'm glad that things are looking up again. And some of that has just been because I'm like, no, I just need to get up and do something. Even if it's something I'm not pleased with at the end of it, at least it's doing something,
Yeah.
to rather than sit and wallow.
Yeah, I know. I just took an online Matisse cutting with scissors or painting with scissors. So essentially, toward the end of his career, he was couldn't really paint anymore, and so he was doing these
Ah,
collages. And I've been gluing them into my journal. Kind of, it's been very, very cathartic. And some of them are better than others, but just the idea of creating. So that's a good segue into for those who don't know you. And if people don't know you who watch this recording, you're in for a treat because I think Andrew is just one of the delightful souls on this planet. What makes you tick as an artist? I certainly have been captivated by your work during the pandemic. These transformations you've been doing of yourself and of your friends and of artists in the community. Just a little bit about what makes you tick as an artist. And I also want to be sure to let everybody know you're this beautiful cellist.
no.
And you were in our production of Bright Star, so you graced our stages as a performer in 2018. I know you were very involved in the work on Georgia
And Fun
McBride.
Home, though you couldn't see me. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about Fun Home. So Fun Home, Bright Star, and then I know you were hugely involved in The Legend of Georgia McBride. But your work as a makeup artist, and I would almost, you're like you're like a transformational visual performing artist, I guess. That's almost like covers all the stuff you do. So, but I'll let you talk.
Well, it's tricky. I've had a lot of people ask me to define what I do, and it is tricky now. But it was tricky before even the pandemic because a lot of my work is as a makeup artist. That's easy to call it that. And a lot of my work as a wig stylist. It's easy to call it that. With those jobs, I mean, of course, many jobs look different then. There's a lot of theater work, a lot of commercial work. And then during the pandemic, all of these recreations that I've had the best time doing. And that's what has been exciting with the pandemic, with these, not exciting about the pandemic, but during this time of the pandemic, to be able to share these looks with people and the reaction it's gotten. I mean, ultimately it's attention, and we in theater and creative arts love attention.
You sure do.
That's why we're here. But it's exciting. I mean, the bit of levity that I've been able to provide and has been really, I mean, it's been nice. It's just been really fulfilling.
So what are some of your favorite looks? I certainly have a few, but I'd like to, what are some of the ones you've most enjoyed, either that you've created on yourself or using your friends and fellow artists?
Um, some of the most fun I really had fun doing the Clue looks.
Yes, that's mine, are the Mrs. White and Miss Scarlet. And yeah, I just thought those were brilliant.
Those were fun.
Mrs. Peacock. Oh, Eileen Brennan. That was awesome, Andrew. That may have been my favorite of yours so far.
And she was one too who, I mean, I've always been obsessed with Eileen Brennan, but I never considered that I looked like her. Yeah. Until I put everything on. I'm like, why do I look so much like Eileen Brennan?
I would never have guessed that. I would never have guessed that. I would never.
And same with Deborah Messing. When I did, I think it was a Merida look early on in the pandemics, Bridget her girls had requested that I do Merida. And I put everything on, like, why do I suddenly look like Deborah Messing? And again, and Lucille Ball too. I'm like, I don't think I look like this person, but somehow I do now.
You know what you really captured in Lucille Ball was, I mean, people only, I think a lot of us only know her, or not us, but I think some people only know her from the, the TV show. And she was a bombshell in the 30s, and,
yeah.
Was under contract at MGM. I mean, she was no slouch as a dramatic and comedic actress. And then she moved into television. But I think you actually, that's what I was thinking when I was looking at that image of her, is you actually captured the glamorous, the movie star part of her.
That's kind of you. Thank you.
No, I mean, I think that's what you've done is an extraordinary thing. And, you were noticed by the New York Times, for God's sakes. I mean, I think that's not that the New York Times is the end all be all of fame, but,
pretty special. I felt pretty, yeah. I mean, that's still a surreal thing to me.
Yeah, I'm sure. I have no doubt. So Clue, and what are some of the other ones?
Oh, I mean, all the looks are super fun to do. Well, not all of them. Some have been a bit of a dirge, admittedly.
I know. Sometimes you get into a project, you're like, why did I do this?
Why have I done this?
Yeah.
But I mean, some of the more just beautiful ones. I loved turning myself into Linda Evangelista, because from an early age. I mean, my brothers were enamored of Tyra Banks for their own very heterosexual reasons. And I was obsessed with Linda Evangelista, and I just always thought she was the height of beauty. And so that was one that I was excited to put together, just because it was a kind of childhood dream. I'm like, oh my gosh, this person I've always loved, and now I'm putting this together. And same with the Sound of Music looks. I mean, who doesn't? Everyone has.
Oh my God, the Lonely Goat Herder section was awesome. That I'd forgotten. See, I unlike Terry Gross, I hadn't done a prep really to get myself in my brain to be interviewing you. So I should have gone back through all of your archives. But oh my gosh, the Sound of Music was brilliant.
And that was one, I mean, as silly as that was one that I put most of that together in one day. And
are you kidding?
Well, and that's one where I feel like I was almost hypnotized in the moment, because I was having the best time, and felt so giddy about just how absurd it was that I remember the day a little bit, but I truly felt like I was working somewhere else. So
I would imagine, I can't imagine pulling that off in a day. That is astounding.
it was, I mean, the editing of the video took beyond that day, but just putting it all together, I think it was about, yeah, it was about a day. So much fun to do.
I
Uh,
bet.
but that one, and on that end too, the Chitty Chitty Bang Bang series was so much fun just because I loved that movie so much growing up. It's so strange, but
That
I,
is a very weird film. And the last time I saw it, I'm like, God, was it always this long? It feels so
oh yeah, that and Mary Poppins, I just always remember as a kid thinking, these are long movies.
yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
like these are long.
Yeah.
Uh, but that was one as the child catcher that I was. That's the most disturbed I've been of the looks
I bet.
because again, I had never considered that I sort of looked like him. But once I had all of that on, as I looked in the mirror, I'm like, this is upsetting. I do not like how much I look like.
Yeah, I have to say I was not keen on that film as a kid at all. I
Yeah,
think that was a terrifying thing for
yeah.
me. And we
Well,
did not we yeah.
I learned later that that was his really only film role. He was a dancer, and was apparently one of the nicest people in the world, but just happened to play this horrible role. That, I mean, been seared in our minds for sure. So those are
Yeah.
some favorites. I mean, there's so many more to come. It's um, I if I could somehow start to make money from these, then I would do these the rest of my life. But it
Yeah.
is a lot. It's a lot of work. Ultimately, I have fun with it, but it's a lot of work that goes into it. Um, so it's. I think that's where I got a little tired because even though it's so much fun, it's still work at the end of the day. So
Yeah.
if I could start to
You
make,
show yeah, this has got me thinking about, how uh as we start building projects from scratch at the Phoenix over the next couple of seasons, where we bring people together. Yeah, you've got me thinking. I'm really curious now about your writing. Like, are you writing for like are you journaling? Is it through poetry? Are you writing pieces or it's like spoken word? Are you working on a play? I mean, or where when you talk about your writing, like where are you and how do you
it's it's a bit of journaling, but it's really taking more book form and possibly play form. Though I don't have uh, script writing or screenplay writing experience. I'm intrigued by it. I haven't delved into that realm at all. But at this point, I've journaled a lot since I was a kid. I had gotten away from it for a few years. I don't know why, but I just did.
Sure.
Uh, but been getting back into it, and so I see it ultimately taking a book form or play form, and some of it is a good portion of it is inspired by either things I've experienced or been uh, have had shared with me by others. I think it was Tina Fey, maybe actually, who when she was developing 30 Rock, uh, I forget what the premise of the show was before it was 30 Rock, but I think she was sitting with Lorne Michaels and he was saying, well, just write what you know. I mean,
Mhm.
why are you trying to come up with something that you actually don't really have experience with yourself? And so she wrote what she knew, and it turned into this 30 Rock myth, which is some people love, which I do, and others don't love. But she did that. She did exactly that. She took the absurdities and experiences that she had had and turned it into quite a big thing. So as sometimes I'm hard on myself when I'm writing. I'm like, well, why can't I think of something? I'm like, well, why? Because you're trying to share a story that isn't necessarily yours to share.
Mhm.
So I go back to just going back to my experiences, um, and I mean coloring in the blanks a little bit here and there too. But at this time, it's sort of free form, and trying my best to turn it into a habit rather than thinking of it as a chore,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
I know is a lifelong struggle for a writer.
Well,
Yeah.
I started journaling actually. I mean, I kept one a little bit. It was more of a travel journal when I was a teenager. But well, actually, when I trained as a Meisner actor, we had to keep journals to journal about class. And what was great about that is it actually morphed into actually our graduation gift from our Martha Jacobs, we each got journals.
Mm.
And I was like, oh, and then I was very haphazard, like months would go by. And now it's kind of like whenever I need to like get something out, or I've come across a poem, or like, or I actually just took a class with Manon Voice that she taught for us. And Manon, it was the everyday poet, and it was like writing exercises. And in the hour we spent with Manon, we each wrote like 3 or 4 poems. And I was rereading one of them, and I was like, that was pretty good that I wrote that. And it's in my journal. And
Well, that's half the battle, is just doing it. I mean,
yeah.
it's because things will come out of you if it's the right time for it to come out. I believe.
I think so too. You got me thinking, because we haven't made our season public, but there's a good chance, or like 90% certain, we're going to be doing this world premiere next spring.
Mm.
And it's by a playwright in Chicago. He identifies as queer. He grew up in north of Atlanta, like roughly like where like Gone with the Wind is, the plantation is set. And so he's written this beautiful play. His name is Terry Guest, and he's a wonderful playwright. He's also a wonderful actor. He worked in the Atlanta theater scene for a long time, and he, I think, did a play at the Goodman in Chicago in the last year and a half of the pandemic. But he's becoming quite a playwright. And this play that we're looking at unpacks generational trauma on a farm in North Georgia. The protagonist is a teenage young man, a Black, queer, or coming to terms with his queer identity. His best friend is white, so and they're have this relationship that each scene culminates in like a sexual encounter, even though like they get stoned to do it. And so it's unpacking this journey. But I'm wondering, and there's 4 actors, and one actor plays multiple characters. He plays an apparition of the Black ancestors, the dead, the protagonist's dead mother, but he also plays the white teenage boy's father, and he's a cop. And you think it's going to be I thought it was going to be this stereotypical white racist, Klan member thing, and he's not. At the end, you're like, I think maybe that guy's dad is closeted, because they start talking about Gone with the Wind, and he talks about one of the dresses she wears, and it's the very last scene you see, and you're like, what?
Wait a minute.
But I'm wondering, maybe it'd be cool. We could do around that production about a year from now. Maybe we could do a spoken word night, and we could invite people to share excerpts of like journals or poems or whatever. It's got me thinking about, because we're only doing 5 productions next season, but how we can build some tangential or interrelated programming around the stage productions, because we've always had a smattering of things kind of going on all the time, and I'd much rather have like 1 or 2 really meaningful events in addition to the stage for the performances, right? And this could be, we've got a couple of plays next year that in some way, shape, or form deal directly or indirectly with same-sex relationships or queer identity. And so you got me thinking about like what some of these cool programs, these standalones that are part of a larger stage production could be. Go ahead.
That's exciting. I mean, that's just
Yeah, we'll be making announcements sometime in the next 30 days on the outdoor. The Park of the Phoenix is what that space is going to be called. And then the indoor stages we'll be announcing probably in the middle of April, late April, we'll be announcing the 5-show indoor season. But we're definitely coming back with Alabaster. That was the next on the docket after Agitators. We made it through almost the whole run of that. And then it would have been Alabaster. It's a world premiere by the playwright Audrey Cephaly, and that's part of the National New Play Network's programming. So
I'm glad you're bringing it back then. Good.
Yeah, it's a beautiful 4 women, 2 goats, 2 photographer inspired by Annie Leibovitz, and then the self-taught rural artist in northern Alabama on this rural farm. And there's been a tragedy on this farm, and the Annie Leibovitz inspired character has also had her own tragedy in her life. Her partner has died, a pregnant partner has died, and she hasn't. Anyway, it's about artist processing from trauma with goats. So
I will prepare my lonely goat herd costume, and I will be there opening night.
You know what? It closes on Halloween. Halloween is a Sunday this year. We should do a Halloween. We should do a costume Sunday.
I'll just be the lobby greeter.
Be awesome. Actually, Andrew, we should pay you to do that. That would be hilarious.
I don't know. That might be disturbing.
No, it might kind of be lovely. It might be kind of disturbing is good. I'm all for disturbing.
That's fair for Halloween.
Yeah. Well, this has been a delight. I just can't tell you how lovely it is to talk to you as always. And you've planted some seeds for some ideas of projects.
Well, excited to get to be together in person again soon.
Yeah. Yeah. Be well. My best to Nick.
Thank you, and to your family as well.
Thanks. See you, man.
Bye.